Good morning, welcome to the Bearded Bama Bushcrafter. Alright, this morning I've been out and about doing some pruning. It's the time of year to prune stuff. So I'm trying to get that doldrum maintenance out of the way. Spring will be coming soon. Things will start popping and budding out. And I want to have everything ready. So I've been doing some pruning in the yard. Been pruning back on some of the ornamentals, and I will be doing pruning on the muscadines, the arbors there. But right now, I'm down here, and I have this wet area that we cross through a lot. This hole is deep. I have seen my oldest son standing waist deep in this hole. So we built another bridge. I'm gonna put it down here and got a tree to plant. Y'all stand by. All right, I got it down here. That little bridge is pretty stout. It's all out of scrap wood, and I measured across, and I wound up the 2x6s that I had in my scrap pile were 8 feet long. So I'm going to fix this across the waterway there. Keep our feet dry. It's nice to come down here and walk through the woods. We have trails all through this little woodlot here. And there's all kind of wildlife. Well, there used to be more. But I believe neighbors up the road, they clear cut their property. I think it was last year. And I believe that's kind of changed the pattern along this creek that comes through our property. I do not see the fur bearers like the coons and the minks. Would see a beaver every now and then. I'm not seeing the tracks like I once did. But there's still a lot of songbirds, squirrels, rabbits, and the occasional deer will push through. So, you know, you get in here, there's a chance of seeing some critters. But it's fun to just have these trails, and kids love to get down in here and explore. But, you know, I've been thinking about building these bridges for a while, and I just got out and finally did it. So I'm going to get this one put up, and we'll see how it works. My oldest son, he's like, Dad, it's not going to be long enough. So, and I told him it's going to be long enough, no matter what. It's going to be long enough. It's going to work. All right, so I've got the blocks laid out. These cap blocks, these cinder cap blocks, make great foundation stones. And it's just a simple way. These little bridges, you know, it's kind of neat. I've always enjoyed when I go into parks or the national forest, they have hiking trails. It's something about coming to those bridges. I know one of the national parks, well, no difference between a national forest and a park. But anyway, the national forest out the road here in Tuskegee, there's the Bartram Trail. And it's named after William Bartram. He was a 18th century botanist that came over from England, and he traveled all through the southeast. And it's got a fascinating book. I highly recommend it. It's The Travels of William Bartram. And it's printed, and the words are his actual language. Like, for example, the word tiger. He talked about seeing tigers when he was in Savannah and down into the parts of Florida that he wound up visiting, and actually seeing some Seminole Indians, wild Indians in the time. He spelt it T-Y-G-R-E, tiger. So it's a fascinating book. But the Bartram Trail, to get back on point, there are some low areas that are real similar to this swampy area, and they built these boardwalks up. And it's neat when you come to it. You used to could ride your bike on that. I'm not sure. I don't think they allow bikes in that section anymore. I think it's footpath only now. But I can remember at one time I used to ride my mountain bike out there a lot. So anyway, let's see about getting this bridge down and see how this is going to work out. I'm trying not to get my feet wet, because this, I'm telling you, this mud is something else here. All right, it fit like a glove. Check this out. Zane, if and whenever you watch this video, the bridge works. It's fairly sturdy. No more getting her feet wet in this section. Eventually, which I don't have any more scrap wood, so it's going to be a while. But eventually, I'll put a little piece here, a little bridge. We have a target, which I'm going to get here shortly. And I've got to work on it. It's gotten rusted up. It's a little target for the squirrel. Check that out. No longer do I have to get my feet wet. So I'm down here exploring around, improving the area. So there we go. That bridge is 8 feet. The other one that I did on the video earlier, sometime in the past, I think it was right at 6 feet. 5.5, 6 feet. All right, so now I got a tree I want to put out. Talk a little bit about it here. The other day, I scattered a 50-pound sack of corn out. I wanted to try something different. I've been noticing quite a few deer tracks through here. Property across, if you look in there and you see these pine trees, this little line right there, that's a pine thicket. And some people have that leased and they deer hunt, and I know they're putting corn out. But the deer cross here and they cross through here. My neighbors across the road, I was talking with them some time ago, and they were talking about how they've been putting corn out and they were seeing deer. Something about seeing a deer, it's just a fascinating thing to me. I grew up deer hunting, my brother and I and my dad, and to this day it's still a fascinating thing to see a white-tailed deer, especially a buck. It's just something just magical, man. It's like, you know, hey, oh, a deer, oh, you know. And I've got corn out and stuff. Things have been coming. I've noticed that there's quite a bit of corn that's being eaten, but the songbirds are in here too. Cardinals, man, they love to eat corn. Squirrels, of course, squirrels, they'll eat anything. So, I like putting it out just to kind of draw things, and plus slow things down as they're coming through. Maybe give me the chance to see and watch whatever animal it could be. Alright, so now to the tree. One of my top 10 favorite native species of tree is the Betula niger, the river birch. Man, the river birch, how I love thee. Let me count the ways. The birch, from my understanding, there are so many uses of this tree. Mainly, it's used as an ornamental shade tree in the landscape. And these things are quite expensive. I have been planting trees on my property for some number of years now. But I don't have river birches growing naturally here. And I kind of wanted to try to establish, you know, those trees growing. So last year I had purchased a couple. However, when I got sick, man, boy, when I got sick, a lot of plans just crashed. And unfortunately, those trees got too hot and dry, and I think they died on me. I pruned them back, and I'm waiting to see if the root is still good. If so, it'll stem out, and I'll be able to plant those. So I went and purchased another one. These trees, that's about a 3-gallon pot. This tree is about $30 to $40. The bigger you buy them, the more expensive they are. Well, my plan is to eventually just have some along this creek, just certain areas. And one of my favorite things about the birch, this is a fabulous wood for carving, making spoons and utensils and whatnot. So we're going to get this in the ground. I like this area right here. Get some good sunlight. I know in the summer, oh yeah, you got to check out that beautiful bluebird sky. Almost forgot about that, huh? It'll leaf out in here, but there's still some adequate sunlight hits down in here. So this tree, I'm going to plant it right here, and we're going to see how it does. All right, so I got the hole started. Can you see the hole there? Generally, I like to dig the hole. You don't want to dig it too deep. You want the root ball sitting just slightly above the surface, but you do want the hole Usually I think you want it about double the size of the root ball. This ground is real moist, so I'm not going to have any problem about the tree getting water. But these trees, normally when you see them around here, they're growing in swamps along creek banks and rivers and whatnot. I guess that's the name, River Birch. So I'm going to make this hole just a slightly bit bigger in diameter, get it in the ground, and I'm going to water it in because that'll help knock out any of the air pockets and stuff that's, you know, have formed for me digging the dirt up and then putting the root ball, setting it in the ground. Alright, so I've got it sitting in the hole. That's just about right. I am going to score the sides. What I normally do, I take the shovel and I'll score the sides. That way as the roots start, and I'll tease the root ball here out a little bit. You can see it's kind of starting to get what they call root bound. And that's basically where they've been in the container for so long. The root starts getting, you know, just circling around itself. So I'll tease that out just a little bit. Don't want to do that too much. And that's just about right. But I'm going to score the sides. I don't know if I was holding that camera right. But I'll score the sides, just take the shovel and just go down the sides. And that'll help the roots kind of as they start growing, you know, to grab and form and spread out. Instead of it just being basically taking it out of a pot and putting it into another pot. You know, sometimes you got to be careful how you dig your holes. And because, you know, if you don't do your hole right, your tree can get root bound in the hole. That does happen from time to time. I've noticed with this soil right here around this creek, some friends and I, well, a friend of mine and my oldest son, we got in here, it's been some years ago, and we dug into the bank and we were getting this beautiful, just gray clay out of the creek bank. And we got in here and we got a fire going, and that was nice. Some river birches going along in here. Hopefully as time goes on I'll be able to purchase some more. But anyway, we got in here and we were making some little clay pots and figurines and stuff. If we'd have been serious and actually collected the clay and stratified it properly, I think that's the word, when you take the clay and you let it soak through a screen and you get the impurities out of it, the clay would have been more pliable, amendable, whatever the word is I'm searching for there, to work. And then when we baked it, they'd have probably made better pots. But you know what we did, it was neat and it was fun. But it's kind of a lot of loam in here too, because of all the leaves and limbs and stuff that fall and decays and becomes, you know, kind of a medium for the soil. You know, it naturally amends into the soil itself. All right, so I'm going to water this in, and then we're done with the tree. All right, well, I watered it in. This is a 2.5 gallon water can, and I put two of these on here, so that perks pretty good. It's soaking right in. That'll get all the air pockets out of it and help it settle. Another use for this tree I got thinking about, birch bark. I have had birch bark beer, tea, and also I have seen, and I actually have a replica of a birch bark canoe. I think I'm going to make a video on restoring that in the future. I've been thinking about that. But let me show you this. It actually is starting to get, that's one of its ID features, is the papery bark. And I have seen people make containers for carrying water, bow quivers, you name it. So if you have any ideas, or you know, some good ideas on what you could use the birch tree for, feel free to comment in the section below. Teach me something. I like learning new ideas. But these trees, what's cool is, you know, even after a long time after I'm gone, these trees should be doing well. And, you know, I'm improving the environment. Planting trees, they take out the carbon dioxide out of the air that we breathe out, and they create oxygen for us. So, you know, there's a real good use for a birch bark tree. Dropping everything here. Forgetting my gloves. Always forget something, so I had to walk back and get them. Alright, let me get this equipment out and let's see what's next. Alright everyone, I hope y'all enjoyed this little outing this morning. I'm going to get back up and start doing some more pruning on some different bushes. This is the time of the year to prune. Sap's down, and you want to do everything before they really start budding out. You know, late winter, which here we're in the middle of winter. But things, sometimes we get an early spring, and things will pop out and bud out, and then we'll get a hard freeze and it'll kill all that stuff. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little outing. I'm excited to get that tree in the ground. I love planting trees. I've planted so many trees. I've planted a bunch of green ash. I have planted some, I call it Osage, or I believe it's Osage oranges. I had collected some of those big, they look like a big apple. They call them hedge apples. Or it also looks like a brain to me. And inside, when you crack it open, there you have little seeds that almost look like sunflower seeds. And I actually collected a bunch of those one time and got them to germinate. And I have 7 or 8 of those things growing here. And I've got some, some oaks, Quercus acutissima, sawtooth oak. I have a few of those growing down in this area. And of course, I planted a bunch of pine trees over time. And that's a dog. I thought a coyote was howling. So that's one of my favorite things to do, is plant trees. And I guess as far as bushcrafting goes, eventually I'll have some material, because those trees, as they grow, that'll in a short time I'll have some limbs I can cut off, and I'll have some material to make some spoons out of. Alright guys, well, appreciate everyone. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button, and we'll see you later. Y'all take care.